What's happening, Cigars Daily Nation? Today, I want to do something that I haven't done in quite some time, and that is drop a review of a wooden humidor. You know, I spend a lot of time trashing wooden humidors on my channel. The truth is, I think that they offer some drawbacks, or at least the way they're constructed these days, they can tend to have a few drawbacks. One of those being that often they are made out of plywood or particle board, and that's because like a solid wooden humidor is going to be ridiculously expensive. I have a list of things that I bitch and whine about when it comes to these, but then I was looking at this right here from Vastony. Now, this thing is a bit of a different breed for your like desktop humidor. It's a little bit bigger, and I want to dive into this today. I've done so many of these thermoelectric ones, and I truly like them a lot, but it's been a long time since I've had my hands on some wood, so let's unbox this bad boy. Natural feeling. I gotta be honest, this is really quite a striking humidor. It's the thing that drew me to it when Vastony first reached out for this review. Of course, like all humidors, it's gonna have some pros, it's gonna have some cons. It's made out of wood. That in itself is a pro and a con. So let's take this thing and deconstruct it all the way through. But the first and most important thing is the thing is sharp as hell. I mean, one of the best looking, best lighted humidors that I have seen just about anywhere. The whole interior is lit up with these really nice, very warm LED lights. The color of the lighting is like, gives you that sort of natural feel that you want when you look inside of a humidor. It's not a super bright white sterile feel. It's not a blue light shining down from the top that's going to get blocked out by all the other cigars. The whole thing is really well lit and even empty. It looks amazing. I'm going to throw some cigars in this in a minute to see what it looks like with sticks inside of it. But up front, I'll tell you, this measures 14 inches tall by about 11 by about 11 inches. And so this is going to fit very comfortably on most desks. Even if you've got one of those cramped, small college dorm style desks, you're going to find some space for a humidor like this. And again, the fact that it's a glass door and you can see all your cigars adds to the presentation. This one is the walnut finish, which is one of two finishes that this comes in. And of course, it does feature a digital hygrometer. But before I just ramble through a bunch of stuff, I want to take you through some of the best parts of this. So we'll start out with the pros on this unit. And the first one is what I just mentioned right in the door, a digital hygrometer. Since I've taken this out of the box, I already see the humidity starting to climb from 55 to 56%. And I've already thrown some Bovedas in there. And for me, a digital hygrometer is a must. It's a really, really important thing to have. And I just note this in this video, although I have to make sure I mention it in another video. I recently did a review of my King Chi 2200 Cigar Tower Humidor, which those things retail for like $3,000. It does not have a built-in digital hygrometer. It has some settings where you can set what you want the humidity to stay at because it has an internal humidifier, but it doesn't actually tell you what the humidity is. This is so critical because it's like having a gas gauge on your damn car. Like, you got to know how much gas is in the car to know how far you can get. And with this right here, you got to know how much humidity is in your humidor to know how good of shape your cigars are going to stay in. So the fact that it has this on here is a big deal. Also, it reads the temperature in Celsius and Fahrenheit, which is changed with the button on the back. The other great thing I like about this digital hygrometer is that it pops right out. Like, there are even instructions on their Amazon page for this humidor on how to take the thing out. It's interchangeable. If it breaks, you can get another one. Like, all important stuff when it comes to a digital hygrometer. And of course, it sits through the door, so it reads the humidity from the inside and displays it on the outside, which, I mean, in this unit is great. If it was on the inside, it has a glass door, so you'd be able to read it anyway, but it's always nice to have that little like extra touch of information and control with your digital hygrometer on the outside of a humidor. So this for me is a big plus up front. Now, a lot of what Vastony did to set this humidor apart from other humidors out there really has to do with design. So like the door opens with this little pop out latch right here on the front. It sits completely flush with the unit. And in order to open the door, you push the top in and then you can pull the handle. So I like that. I mean, with humidors, a lot of times these days, you've just got a little pull tab, a little handle or something like that. The fact that they've given this little like, and it's just such a small thing, but it just gives it that like extra smooth, clean presentation on the front. As far as the interior goes, this has got one feature that to me is one of the most critical things that any humidor can present for you, and that is trade shelves with sides on them so that your cigars don't roll off the edge when you slide them out. And these have this really cool added benefit that they have this plexiglass front on them. So even inside your humidor, you can see your cigars, which again, if you're getting a glass door or glass top humidor, displaying your cigars is most likely a priority for you. You want to be able to look at them without having to open the lid. It's one of the great things about cigars is that they're just kind of like sexy all on their very own. I like that this has these plexiglass in the front and in the back. It lets a lot more light through, and they're very deep trays. So they're going to hold a lot of cigars, which is great. They've done a really good job of utilizing the interior space of this. Like there's not a lot of wasted space in here. As big as this thing is about as many cigars as it's going to be able to hold. So as far as like using the space and putting together these trays, of course, they've got the slots on the bottom to allow humidity to move through, like great interior construction all the way around, the visibility, airflow, everything that's going to go through the interior of this as far as storing your cigars goes is like all A+ for me. And again, on the interior, the drawers have these little golden handles for pushing them in and pulling them out, which is, again, it's points for style, it's flair, it's sizzle. It doesn't actually cause the thing to perform any better, but certainly, like, if you're if you're shopping for a wooden humidor, you're looking for points for style, and like, this is gonna give you that in spades up front. So this is what I really wanted to get a look at. How handsome is this humidor once it's got cigars in it? What I did is filled these shelves sort of similar to how I figure most people are going to keep it. The top shelf I filled about halfway, which I think is pretty reasonable. I think most people don't fill their humidors as full as this middle shelf is here, where it's like just you've crammed as many cigars in there as you can, unless you've got like a growing collection. Your cigars are like bunnies. They're just reproducing like crazy, and you find that you have more and more and more, and your wife is like, why do you have so many cigars? And you're like, you know what? Mind your own business. Anyway, this thing surprisingly hit one advertising point that I found very few humidors hit, and that's the advertised capacity of this thing. Online, they advertise that this can hold about 130 cigars, and that's like basically exactly how many it can hold. I mean, this shelf right here in the middle has about 44 cigars on it, and so all three shelves can hold that. Now, I'm going to start into drawbacks in just a second here, my cons list. But I have to mention the first one right here, and it has to do with these shelves. As I started putting cigars in here, I quickly realized that the shelves are not long enough to hold a Toro cigar. So right here what you've got is a lot of Robustos, and they fit lengthwise, even with a little bit of headspace in the top. But if you want to put Toros or Churchills in here, they're going to have to sit sideways. Like these ones right here are. So to me, that's a bit of a drawback, although I have to say, when I started putting a bunch of Toros in here and filling the thing up, I did notice that even putting Toros in sideways with a little bit of space for Robustos on the edge, I still was able to hold about the same number of cigars on each tray, and that was about 40 to 45 cigars. So obviously there are a lot of things about this that I really like, and there are definitely a few drawbacks, and dear God, I want to make sure that you know what all of those are. And some of these things will be things you kind of got to decide for yourself, whether it's seriously a drawback for you. Like for instance, the fact that it's made out of wood. For some people, that is a drawback. For other people, that's a real added benefit. The one thing I'm not going to do in this video is like season the thing and then speak to the seal on it. And that's because they just tend to be so different. And it's different based on what your location is, what the ambient humidity or relative humidity and temperature where you are is, what your elevation is, how you set the thing up, how many cigars you keep in it, what's your favorite humidity. There's a lot out there that causes that to vary. So what I'll tell you is this. The seal on the door here is a typical desktop humidor type seal with sort of this fluted edge on the interior of the door that, I mean, seems to seal fine. I mean, it does have some resistance, some pull on the door when I go to open the door. So, and that's before, by the way, the interior is seasoned and humidified. I imagine it would seal even a little bit better if I seasoned it, but that's just on this one right here. Like all humidors ultimately require some level of dialing in when you first get them. So it's very rare you're going to get one, throw humidification in it, and just go. Now, this is for me though, one of the, I guess, again, you got to decide whether this is a drawback for you or not. This unit comes with these 3 humidifiers that are, I assume if I cracked them open, filled with that green foam stuff that your Aunt Karen used to stick fake flowers in. This is a lot to keep in a humidor of this size. I mean, even if you stack these along the edge of the humidor like this and put one on each shelf, it's going to take up the space of a cigar, probably 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 cigars. So on each shelf, you're probably taking up the space of about 12 cigars just for your humidification. It's not that huge of a drawback because if you look inside, I already replaced all of these things with Boveda packs. And so I grabbed a Boveda 100 cigar seasoning kit and already put 84% packs in there, which I shouldn't have cigars in there when I'm doing that, but I'm just sort of showing it to you. A couple of 60 or 360 gram packs on the side. You could even put them on both sides if you're really concerned about humidity, and you should be. You can fit in there and they won't take up the space of any cigars. So I don't like these. I typically throw things like this away immediately when I get them, but Boveda is a pretty quick and easy solution to that problem. Now, it is nice that the interior lights turn on and off with a switch right on the back of the unit on the bottom on the corner. I like that a lot. Just come in, turn the thing on, turn it off. You can leave it on and even plug it into an outlet with a timer on it on the wall if you want the lights to automatically turn on and off. I geek out on stuff like that. But this is a bit of a drawback. On the back of this thing, it plugs in straight up with a USB 2.0 plug. And it doesn't come with a wall adapter. So you're going to have to figure that out. Maybe they think you're going to just plug this into your computer. I literally have this plugged into a laptop right now. But I mean, obviously you're going to plug it into an outlet to keep it, most of the time. So, that's a bit of a drawback for me. When you spend good money on a humidor, it should basically have everything it needs to get going. It's lacking a little, USB plug that you probably have in your desk drawer sitting next to you right now. The interior light on this unit does turn on and off with a switch that's located on the bottom right-hand side in the back. And I like that. It's very simple. It's very easy to use. The downside here, the drawback, the con, is that it plugs in with a USB 2.0 plug, but it doesn't come with the adapter to plug it into the wall. It just comes with the USB plug, which means you got to have an adapter. And I don't know if they're just like, people will just probably plug these into their laptops. I literally have it plugged into a laptop right now because I didn't have a wall adapter in the studio anywhere, which is kind of surprising to me. You spend good money on a good humidor and you want it to come with everything it's going to need. If you're going to get this and plug it in, you're going to have a wall adapter for a USB 2.0 so you can get the electricity to the damn thing. To me, it's a bit of a drawback. Could have come with that. Now, I also need to talk a little bit about the construction of this unit up front here. So it is a wooden desktop humidor. It does have flash and sizzle and all it looks good. And it looks natural. That being said, this is like particle board that has a finish on the outside of it, a walnut finish on the outside of it. And it's a great thing that it has Spanish cedar on the inside, but the actual construction of the sides of it, of the bottom, of the top, are going to be made out of particle board. And, again, I consider that to be a con because who wouldn't want a solid, real wooden humidor? but also a solid real wood humidor of this size would cost 3 times or 4 times as much as this thing costs right here, because wood is so damn expensive right now. And if you look around your house, probably a lot of your furniture has got the same particle board stuff in it. And certainly that doesn't mean that it's not going to work well. Like even sitting here now, this thing's already up from 55 to 59%. Like the humidity seems to be climbing fast. Now, of course, I've got like crazy high humidity packs and I just filled it with cigars, but like there are a lot of people using wooden desktop humidors that are particle board. I want to make sure to point that stuff out up front so you don't get one of these and think like, oh my gosh, like it feels very lightweight. And it is. It only weighs a few pounds when it's empty. Just like these are some of the things you got to consider when you put your humidor together. The thing does have the looks and it certainly seems up front to have the functionality, but you got to know you're not getting like a solid wood desktop humidor. It's made of wood and also some glue. And the last thing has really to do with functionality, and this is more of like a PSA than a pro or a con. It's just something you got to kind of consider. I get lots of calls from people who haven't really considered this up front or who are at least trying to address this issue. And that is, this does what a humidor basically should do. It holds your cigar. It holds the humidity that your cigars need in order to stay healthy and happy. But it does not control the temperature of your cigars. It's like the thing that people are going to thermoelectric humidors for. And even then, most introductory thermoelectric humidors will cool your cigars if it's too warm. But then you got to get the nicer versions to cool and heat your cigars if you live somewhere very cold. So, this is the most basic model. It's made of wood. The internal temperature of this humidor is going to be whatever the temperature of the room that it's in is, right? So in this room, if it's 70 degrees, it's going to be 70 degrees in here, and that's where it's going to stay. If it's the summer and I don't turn my AC down and it's 79 degrees, it's going to be 79 degrees in here. This is a really common problem that is sort of a timeless problem for, cigar people, is that your humidor typically sits at the temperature of its room. So if you need to address that, then you got to think thermoelectric. And right now, especially this time of year, as I'm shooting this, it's starting to get cold. Then you got to think about expensive thermoelectric in order to keep that temperature maintained. There are little ways around this. I've seen people use heating pads or insert a heating pad to keep the humidor's temperature in good shape. And again, the added benefit of this one is it reads the temperature for you right on the digital hygrometer. So, this thing all around, for me, it gets all the points for flash and sizzle. It looks good. The lighting is nice. Even with cigars in it, it's got some really nice appeal. It does what it says it's going to do. It holds the number of cigars it says it's going to hold. And at least at this point, it seems like it would humidify your cigars reasonably well. And the Vastony has been really responsive to me as I've emailed them, and they seem to be pretty well reviewed online up to this point. So, all around, I think there are more pros for this than cons for me. It's just been so long since I've worked with a wooden humidor. But ultimately, what you got to decide is what you're looking for in a humidor. If you want something that's really stylish, that's going to show off well in the house and maybe go with some of your wife's decor, this thing seems like it's going to give you a lot of that. If you need some of the extra feature and functionality, then this one's not going to heat, it's not going to cool, and it may not fully suit your needs, but at the end of the day, that's the beauty of it. Everybody's cigar journey is a little bit different, and everybody's going to find different values in their collection. I am curious to know from you, what type of humidor are you using or have you been using? Is it a jar? Do you have Tupperware? Are you using a wooden humidor, or are you looking to upgrade maybe to a wooden humidor, or are you already into the thermoelectric monstrosities out there? I would love to hear more from you guys about this. It's really good to get my hands back on a wooden humidor because it's just been so long. I think in the last maybe, dear God, 2 or 3 years, I've really only reviewed thermoelectric humidors. So this is kind of a refreshing experience for me. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching here. Of course, check this video out on the community on Cigars Daily Plus. This is Tim signing off for Cigars Daily, and I will see you in the comments.